Okay. Alrighty then. So today's koan is from the Householders Koan book, uh, really developed from our mostly from the LA Zen Center, but a variety of teachers. I assume, or I understand, mostly in our lineage, maybe all in our lineage. And this koan is from the work section, right? So there's different sections. It's like raising children, family, work, different categories of koans. And this one stood out to me. It's called Yesterday and Today. And so just to explain a little bit, Michael, since you're newer, um, we usually talk from our koan system, like our koan lists. We have lists of koans, which is like parables that we study. Like, what's the sound of one hand clapping is a koan. And so this one is a new book that was created by people in our lineage that reflects more current situations. So it's not like a master living in the mountains 2,000 years ago was talking to somebody and they said this. It's more like this is somebody who was like last year was struggling with this and was going through this. And so it tends to be more relevant to our culture and circumstances and can be very helpful that way. So this one called Work, right? It's about in the work section called Yesterday and Today. Don't be consistent. The koan. While working in the VA hospital, Ryudo heard the following conversation. Nurse, did you give Mariah her meds this morning? Yes, doctor. Why do you ask? Because yesterday she was calm and confused and focused, but today she is really out of control. So that's the koan. Uh, we want things to be consistent and predictable. The smallest anomaly or disturbance in our routine, the lack of hot water in the shower, the dog messing up the floor, the strange sound your car makes, can throw off the entire day. uh, you start looking for someone or something to hold on to, praying it stays the same and never changes. Your husband, your wife, your child, your friend, your health, they're all going to change. Our resistance to change, the Buddha said, is the biggest factor behind our suffering. Take a moment to contemplate this. How do you feel when you see your children all grown up and ready to leave home? Your job suddenly shifting, your spouse behaving differently than usual? Don't we fight tooth and nail against surprises and new turns of events? Things keep changing all the time. I'm looking for the new normal, I would tell people. Only the new normal was not to be found. Don't be consistent was my husband's favorite Buddhist slogan. Life's not consistent. In fact, doesn't living according to our old routines feel like a life lived under glass? When the glass is shattered, there's a blast of cool air, and with it, the raw freshness of being alive. We enjoy that sensation so much we immediately try to bottle it up, taking the same actions and expecting the same results until the glass breaks once again and we discover that there's no new normal. I call that the new abnormal. Um, and so, yeah, it brings up, right, the classic Buddhist teachings that life is always changing. Everything changes. And practicing how to let go of that, how to be with that, how to accept that. And acceptance is really a multi-layered thing. There's accepting so many levels of acceptance. I can accept it mentally without accepting it emotionally. And then I can accept it emotionally without accepting it physically. Like there's many levels of acceptance. And so to really get our acceptance on the deepest level is a lifetime practice. And often accepting things means that we're willing to make changes. We're willing to do things differently. I love it how they say here, how they're looking, we're doing the same thing and expecting it to be the same, right? But it's different. Where is that? We try to take the same actions expecting the same result. From my experience, in addiction, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? Like, oh, this time it's going to be different. I'm still going to hang out with my friends. I'm still going to go to my usual spots, but this time it's going to be different. I'll make a different choice. So doing the same thing and expecting different result is insanity. And I think this kind of turns that on its head, right? So for a Buddhist, it's doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I mean, expecting the same result. It's like, I'm going to do the same thing every day. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to try to take care of my health. I'm going to try to be a good person. And I'm going to expect that things won't change, that I will continue to have good karma. I'll continue to have my job. I'll continue to be a good person. And then we realize that things are always changing. We can't expect that. It's insanity to think that things will always stay the same. And that's painful. It's painful when things change. And so it's a big part of our practice. It's practicing with change. In school, right, in teaching, there's something called grit. And it's kind of like the new thing. It's like people, they just started talking about it recently, like in the last couple of years. But they realized that one of the biggest factors in student success is what they call grit. And basically it means when you hit the wall that you keep going and you find a way around the wall. When you hit a problem, you learn to problem solve rather than getting frustrated and discouraged. And it makes all the difference over the long run between success in life, making progress. And it's hard, right? Developing that grit. It's something I didn't learn very well growing up. And in school, I didn't learn it. There's ways to teach it, right? And that's what I'm more interested in, is how can we like literally structure lessons to teach grit. And it's tricky because when we hear that we're not doing enough or we're not doing a good job, our whole culture reinforces this zero sum game. And if we lose, then we can't win. Or if we lose, then somebody else beats us. And so we have a culture that makes it easy to give up and find distractions and find other things to entertain ourselves and find other options. I'll just go over here then, hang out with these guys and just do this and live over here and live this kind of life rather than stay over here and like push through all my stuck places and my difficulties and make that progress. And it's terrifying to me to see this because at the same time, we're exponentially, our whole economy and our politics is becoming exponentially more separated. So the opportunities for these kids today are going to be much less in 10 years than they were for us 10 years ago. And the money getting hoarded, our capitalism continually deferring to the rich. And so now the politics are bought. And so everything it's getting more difficult to succeed. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow or next month, but in 5 or 10 years, I think it's going to be a real difference. We're going to see. It's going to be a lot of people scrambling for very low-paying jobs. So the grit it takes to overcome the circumstances these days is also becoming exponential. And so somehow to teach us all, when life doesn't go our way and things change, how to handle that and how to make progress through that is one of the greatest life lessons that we can learn. And I'm learning it in a difficult way, right? I'm struggling these days more than I was, 10 years ago. In lots of ways. Some ways I'm not, but it feels like it. I was talking earlier with David and kind of saying, my vision for Buddhism, it used to be basically like a romance or a Western that has a happy ending. Westerns really aren't a good reference. Horrible history of our West. But it's like this vision of like, oh, we get enlightened and then things get better and we make progress and I'm more organized and I take care of things better and then I live to be the ripe old age and a wise old Zen master and then die with my family around me and happily awakened and making progress towards my life towards my chill life where I get to reborn as a Zen center dog or something. I've had that as a vision. Like this is the trajectory of a Buddha. And I've been very disappointed lately. I'm like, wow, being awakened really doesn't protect you from how crappy life can be and how suffering goes on in new ways and more subtle ways. And actually just literally being very, very upset and horrified, realizing that I am the bad people, right? Like talking about our history and studying our horrible history and realizing I am the bad people just as much as I want to be the good people. my karma does not protect me from being a horrible person in my past or my future. Being awakened doesn't protect me from being a horrible person in my past or my future. I'm going to experience that. If I'm not experiencing it now, I will experience it. Being a terrible person and hurting others. It is depressing, and it makes me sad. And I'm like, wow, I'm not as happy as I was before, when I thought, oh, my karma means that I'm going to get better and better. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to continue to be better and better as a person. And then realizing, no, I'm not. I'll be lucky if I have a good life in this life, and like I do become a better person. I try to make good choices. It's not, it's not it's not this relative circumstance I'm talking about, right? It's like the bigger picture where, yeah, within 1,000 lifetimes, I'm a horrible person and I'm a great person. And I just am lucky to be here right now, with a privileged life. I'm lucky. And I'm going to go back to being a bad person or a bad animal or whatever. I don't know. To me, it was a wake up call. I'm like, man, I can't count on that. I can't count on karma. I can't count on awakening. I can't count on my sense of integrity. And so what do we do now? How do we have a good day anyway? And so, yeah, man, geez, right? So there's this balance between like trying to get things better and trying to have a better life, which is real. We do want to do that. I'm certainly not discouraging trying to make progress. I try to make progress every day. I try very hard. And then also on the other side, just letting go of that, realizing progress is meaningless. If I'm making progress, it's because it's just what I'm doing right now. And there's no value to it. I'm not a good person. I'm not a bad person. I think often letting go of being a bad person is harder than letting go of being a good person. Right? As a black sheep, I've always defined myself as relative, separating myself from the good people, defining myself as being a trouble or a troublemaker. Without that, who am I? So yeah, so somewhere between like, so basically I can't really summarize what I'm talking about because I don't even know. But something about like recognizing that life is going to change, that we can't hold on to our patterns or our consistency or what we think is good and bad. And then at the same time, developing the grit to work with that and keep pushing through it. Right? So my students, I'm gonna start telling them, bad job, even when they do a good job. You're not doing it right. You got it wrong. The difference is I'm going to tell them, hey, I'm trying to teach you grit. I'm going to try to teach you how to work with failure, right? Because the kids, man, they respond well to positive reinforcement. Great job. You're doing a great job. Keep going. You're making progress. And that's wonderful. That's a great stage. We all have to go through that stage where we feel good about ourselves and we develop our ego in a positive way. And then to be able to move past that and in here, no, you're not doing a good job. No, you're going to fail. And then how do you have a good day anyway? How do you step up through that and still make this progress that we make just because, for no other reason? And there is contentment in that. It is better to be awakened and realize that there's nothing matters than it is to not be awakened and realize nothing matters. There's value in quality of life that comes with awakening. But the difference, it's not the difference between riding off into the sunset or going to hell. We're all going to hell and riding into the sunset, you know, either way. That's not the value of our practice. The practice is realizing this is who I am right now. This is who I am, for better or for worse, for winning or failing. I'm a failure. I'm a winner. Sometimes I'm either or. Sometimes I can feel like I'm both. But what is it now? And accepting that. It's easy to accept ourselves for the good. And it's hard to accept ourselves for our failures and our struggles and negative reinforcement and people telling us, giving us negative messages. It is hard. And it's who we are. It's who I am right now. I'm struggling in this life right now. I feel judgmental. I am judgmental. I'm selfish. I'm greedy. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I feel like a loser. And this is my life right now. Can I appreciate it? You know, the zero sum game, it kind of kills me. It's like to think that the universe is zero sum, so it all balances out and everything is just a balance. That kind of drives me crazy. I want it to be, there's a better option. I want us to all be happier. I want the whole universe to be happier than zero sum. And it's a lifetime practice to accept that. And I don't know, right? The universe is big. I'm just a tiny little thing, barely waking up. I don't know if it's zero sum universe. I don't know if it's a zero sum world. I don't know if, like the Beatles say, in the end, the love you make is equal to the love you take. I don't know if that's true. I think from a Buddhist philosophical standpoint, it makes sense, right? It's like there's no good or bad inherently. It's all just what it is. And that seems like a zero-sum game philosophy. I don't know. I'm trying to make it better, trying to do more good than I've done bad. And when I get discouraged, it's very difficult. But that's my practice, is to keep showing up and accepting that this is my life right now as it changes, right? So of course it's going to change. What do I depend on from the koan? All I ever have is now. I can be completely present in this moment, or I can go into the stories in my head, sink into the memories of how things were, get upset over how they've changed, and become apprehensive about the future. But it says, Buddhist teacher Joan Halifax likes to say about her retreats and workshops, the schedule is subject to reality. We can have any schedule we want, a daily regimen of greetings, medications, and appointments that remain the same one day after the next. But aren't they all subject to reality? Aren't they all subject to change? So how can we have a good day anyway? All right, so that's the talk for the day, and open it up for any questions or suggestions or comments.